There's one Northern Michigan town that has recently been crowned the best place to retire in America, and to be honest, I'm not even surprised about that. In fact, around 19% of Michigan's population are 65 years or older. There's a reason so many people love staying here in their later stages, or even come here in the first place. If you want to know all about why retiring in Northern Michigan is beating out places like Arizona, Florida, or even California, this is the video for you. And although I'm not quite at the retirement age, I'll tell you all about what it's like retiring in Northern Michigan from somebody who has spent 40 years living in Northern Michigan. And if you want to find out what the best city to retire in is, make sure you stay until the end of the video. Northern Michigan has a lot to offer retirees, but you're going to want to make sure you pay attention to both the good and the bad in order to make the right decision for you. First of all, let's talk about getting around. Northern Michigan surprisingly doesn't have a lot of public transportation. In fact, we don't even really have Uber or Lyft. So if you're going to retire here, you're going to want to make sure you own a car. Another thing to consider is the weather. One of the best parts about living in Northern Michigan is the 4 seasons. And Northern Michigan truly has all 4 seasons, which mean harsh winters and hot summers. Now, while the snow makes for a beautiful landscape and it's perfect for winter sports, it definitely makes life in Northern Michigan a little bit trickier, especially getting around on the snowy and icy roads. And the summers here can get pretty warm and sticky, and I would be lying to you if I didn't say fall is my absolute favorite season in Northern Michigan, and I believe that fall in Northern Michigan is truly underrated. There's something special about the conclusion of summer and when the leaves start to change and things slow down a little bit in Northern Michigan. There are some environmental factors to think about as well. A lot of people get away from the big cities and choose to retire in Northern Michigan because of the beautiful rolling hills and how green it is and just how natural this area tends to be. Now, although Northern Michigan is known for its beauty, and this is few and far between, I have had a couple of people say there are small pockets that have made Northern Michigan feel a little bit more industrial, as we do have some large manufacturing developments popping up. Health and safety are also something you're going to want to consider when you're deciding where you want to retire. And while Northern Michigan has a very low pollution rate, in the spring we often have to deal with allergies that cause havoc to some people. Now, if you don't suffer from allergies, you're probably going to think I'm crazy for even bringing this up, but I have had some people who have moved here said the pollen during those seasons is so hard that they cannot stop sneezing when the trees start to bloom and the extra pollen is in the air. Also, if you're not from Michigan, specifically Northern Michigan, this may surprise you, but one of the biggest safety hazards in Northern Michigan are deer. It's funny to talk about this, but just about everybody I know who has lived in Northern Michigan for any period of time has hit a deer with their car while trying to drive someplace. Now, while deer are cute animals and very fun to watch, they don't seem to be very smart, specifically when crossing the road. When I thought of bringing that up on this video, it actually made me think about how built into my psyche watching for deer while driving down the road is. Finally, if you know anything about Northern Michigan, you probably know how much more affordable it is than other areas around the country for retirees. And I believe that's just part of the reason so many people choose to retire in Northern Michigan. But keep in mind, the cost of living is a challenge here too. And it seems like in every single video, I talk about how expensive Northern Michigan has gotten. And although the prices have seemed to stop steadily climbing as they have been the last 5 years, they still have not gone down, and I don't anticipate that happening anytime soon. Also, with so many people choosing to retire in Northern Michigan, it's making the areas that retirees want to move to even more expensive. Also, something to consider is if you're retiring to Northern Michigan from a warmer climate, there are going to be things like heating costs and other items that you're not used to paying that you need to factor into your monthly budget. So that's a pretty brief overview of what it actually costs to retire in Northern Michigan. If you want to know more about the actual cost of living here, make sure you stay until the end of the video. Now that we've talked about the cons of retiring in Northern Michigan, let's talk about why so many people are choosing to retire here. But before we get into that, if you've enjoyed this video and you want to see more videos about what it's actually like to live in Northern Michigan, make sure you hit the subscribe button so you never miss one of these videos. For starters, even though the weather here has its extremes, most of the year it is very mild and there are plenty of sunny days year-round to enjoy outdoor activities. I emphasize the summer because unlike the Sun Belt, Northern Michigan truly experiences all 4 seasons. Summers are more enjoyable here because the temperatures range between 70 and 80 degrees, making outdoor activities much more enjoyable. Whether you like hiking in the spring, boating in the summer, or skiing in the winter, there is always something to do in Northern Michigan. Michigan's healthcare system is also top-notch. We truly have amazing hospitals and doctors. Also, the state extended Medicaid under the Affordable Care Act, meaning even more people get coverage. I can't stress enough how good the healthcare in Northern Michigan is. In fact, if I were looking for a place to retire, Just the healthcare systems in Northern Michigan would be the #1 reason I would consider moving here. I think it's such a blessing that the older population in Northern Michigan has access to such quality I honestly believe one of the reasons that makes Northern Michigan special for retirees is just how easy access there is to high quality healthcare. Now let's leave healthcare aside for a second and focus on something more fun. What is it like to live in Northern Michigan, and what is there to do year round? One thing I love about Northern Michigan is if you love the outdoors, then Northern Michigan is going to feel like it was built specifically for you. So many people decide to leave big cities and retire in places like Northern Michigan because they get sick of the hustle and bustle of life, and once they stop working, they want a little bit more of a laid-back lifestyle. Also, the people that I've helped retire in Northern Michigan have told me they've chosen to do so for just how easy it is to be active. We have a ton of golf courses, a ton of trails and places to hike, and pickleball. There are so many pickleball courts in Northern Michigan, and Northern Michigan was one of the first places to hop on the pickleball craze, and it seems like they've opened pickleball courts everywhere here. We can't forget about the beaches. Northern Michigan truly has some of the beaches, and every single small town here has their own state park with hundreds of feet, or in some cases, miles of waterfront that everybody gets to access. And if you really love the beach and want to take it one step further, I would recommend looking at one of our great waterfront communities here and purchasing your own piece of beachfront. And with the longest freshwater coastline and tons of inland lakes, Northern Michigan is truly a paradise for boaters and fishermen. Also, Northern Michigan has tons of trails for things like biking, hiking, or even horseback riding. And in the winter, those trails turn into places for people to go cross-country skiing or snowmobiling. Aside from the natural beauty and hiking outside and doing some of the things in nature, there are also tons of local events every year. Everything from the National Cherry Festival in Traverse City, which brings in about 500,000 people, to the Lilac Festival on Mackinac Island. There is truly an event for everyone here. I have a handful of events that I look forward to attending myself every year. And at the top of that list is Apple Fest in Charlevoix. It's a festival dedicated to apples. They have a petting zoo, a few rides for the kids, and they show you amazing ways to turn apples into every single kind of dessert you can think of. Speaking of community, Northern Michigan has a really strong sense of community, and I believe that a lot of people choose to retire in Northern Michigan because there are already a lot of other retirees here, making it very easy to find friends who have similar likes and interests. Also, I can't state enough how easy it is to be active in Northern Michigan. If you're moving here to have an active retirement, I think you're gonna be very pleased at what you just, and if you're moving here because you wanna be more active in retirement, I think you're gonna be pleased with all the options that Northern Michigan has for you. Also, since I'm not quite yet a retiree, I'd love to hear from other retirees out there. If you're watching this video and you have chosen to retire in Northern Michigan, what is it really like to live here? What do you like, what you don't like? Drop a comment below and I'll be sure to respond to you. Now let's say you get tired of hiking on the trails and playing pickleball all day. The good news about Northern Michigan is there are a ton of other entertainment options as well. For starters, Northern Michigan has a ton of art galleries, theaters, and museums. If shopping is your thing, you're going to love the small boutique shopping in these little resort towns. Whether it's downtown Harbor Springs, downtown Petoskey, downtown Charlevoix, or even over to Traverse City, these main streets are filled with cute shops and cute restaurants that you're gonna love spending the afternoon perusing. Also, if you happen to like wine or beer, Northern Michigan is quickly becoming a go-to region for both. Now that we've talked about beer and wine, why don't we mention the food scene for a second? Northern Michigan truly shouldn't have as good of a food scene as it does. You get the classic farm-to-table restaurants, as well as some of the best fine dining you're gonna find anywhere in the world. Also, if you prefer to cook versus going to a restaurant, you're gonna love the little farmers markets that each town have, allowing you to buy locally grown fresh ingredients to create masterpieces to share with your friends and family. Also, one thing that's popular in Northern Michigan, specifically because of the cherry region in Traverse City, are cherries. And if you like to cook things with cherries, such as barbecue sauce or add it to your recipes, you're gonna love all the cherry options available here. Also, if you love seafood, there are plenty of fish markets. And honestly, one of my favorite things to do is call a fishing charter and catch my own fish that I can prepare myself. So now that we've talked about some of the lifestyle aspects of living in Northern Michigan, let's talk about the elephant in the room. What does it cost to live in Northern Michigan? Like I said before, although Northern Michigan has gotten very expensive over the last 5 or 6 years, it is still a lot less expensive than some comparable areas around the country. Financially speaking, one of the perks about retiring in Northern Michigan is there is no state tax on Social Security. And compared to the national average, Northern Michigan still has low property taxes. Now, while everybody talks about how expensive homes in Northern Michigan have gotten, there are still some affordable options out there. Now, yes, we still have houses that are $2, $3, $4, $5 million, but did you know you can buy a condo in a lot of places for as low as $300,000? That's right, just $300,000 allows you to live the Northern Michigan retirement lifestyle you're thinking about. Now, if you've made it this far in the video and you're thinking about retiring in Northern Michigan, you're probably wondering, which town should I live in? Now, I would tell you that question is personal. I would start by asking yourself, what are the most important aspects of a retirement home for you? Is it carefree living? Is it being close to downtown? Or is it being close to a hospital or even a walking trail to do your daily walk? It's funny to think about this because over the years, I've had so many different types of people retire in Northern Michigan. I've had some that said, Geno, I want a condo with no maintenance because I've cut grass my whole life and I'm sick of it. And I've also had people buy homes out in the woods to actually live off the land and garden their own food. Also, I would say housing costs is an issue. If you've worked really hard, saved a lot of money, or maybe sold your company and you've decided to buy your dream house on the water and want to spend $2 or $3 million, there are plenty of waterfront homes here that would suit your needs. So in conclusion, you should retire in Northern Michigan if you want to be surrounded by natural beauty, have a little bit slower pace of life, and live the resort vacation lifestyle year round. However, if you want conveniences and the ability to Uber everywhere, and the amenities that a big city offers, Northern Michigan is simply not for you. Whatever your choice is, just know that I'll be looking forward to helping you discuss what your options are. I'm a top realtor in Northern Michigan, and I've helped over 600 families in my 20-year career, and I would love to help you with any questions you may have about what it's actually like to live in Northern Michigan. So if there's anything I didn't cover today, or you have more specific questions about anything Northern Michigan related, please reach out to me at 231-487-6141, or respond to the link in the comments. So if you like this video, but you're still wondering where to live or what the top waterfront areas are, you're gonna watch this next video. I cover the top 3 waterfront locations, so you don't have to look at over 100 different areas to decide which one's best for you.